43, male inside the Alrosa on stage with a 33. Shots still being fired.
The world knew them as gods of the stage, untouchable, electric, dripping with the kind of charisma that made fans weep and critics surrender. But offstage, in the quiet after the encore, some were marked men, hunted by jealous lovers, targeted by deranged superfans.
John Lennon was brought to the emergency room. He was dead on arrival.
The suspect, Jesus Mesquia, was 39 years old when Mia Zapata was murdered.
Caught in underworld crossfires.
I got very upset by this, and I told him, I'm gonna beat you up, I'm gonna kill you.
Turn it up loud as we investigate music's most chilling unsolved mysteries, the stories of rock stars who were brutally murdered. How do you keep the beat of rock and roll, only to have your heart silenced in a friend's basement? Gary Driscoll was never the loudest man in the room. He didn't chase fame or headlines. He just kept the rhythm alive. From the earliest days with Ronnie Dio and the Prophets to shaping the raw pulse of Rainbow's debut album, Gary was the quiet force behind some of rock's most thunderous moments.
And we had some fun in the studio because the drummer was so eccentric, the drummer Gary.
By the mid-1980s, his music career had slowed. He took odd jobs, tile work, session gigs. Fame had moved on, but Gary stayed grounded. Sometimes he'd crash at a friend's apartment in Ithaca, New York, just a place to rest his head. But on June 8, 1987, that apartment became a crime scene. Gary was found brutally murdered, stabbed, beaten, shot twice in the head. The whispers started instantly: drug ties, a botched deal, occult rumors, something ritualistic. The friend he'd trusted, Robert Galinas, was allegedly involved in drug trafficking. The main suspect, John Shillingford, fled, then returned to face trial, only to be acquitted by a jury. Gary's death remains unsolved. No justice, no answers, just a legacy buried under silence and speculation. Dave Rowbotham didn't chase fame, he chased sound. In 1978, he helped create the Durruti column, then left it behind. He drifted to the Mothmen in the early 1980s, then to session work as a guitarist. Manchester's post-punk scene knew his name. Outside of it, few did. He was the kind of musician other musicians trusted. Quiet, clever, a bit chaotic. But he had a vibe, the kind that can't be taught. By the late 80s, things were different. Heroin, alcohol, long nights, short gigs. He was still playing, still joking around. Friends called him Cowboy Dave. He was warm, sharp. Then he vanished from the scene. On November 2nd, 1991, Dave was found murdered in his flat, a hammer to the head. No witnesses, no motive. The case remains unsolved, just silence. No headlines, no grand memorial. Just a song from Happy Mondays, Cowboy Dave. A short film years later. A legend posthumously assembled from fragments. Dave Rowbotham played the background, but his absence? Deafening. Mia Zapata walked like she owned the street, because in her world, she did. Frontwoman of the Gits, she fused soul with fury, a poet with a scream. Raised in Kentucky, steeped in Billie Holiday and punk grit, Mia didn't just sing, she testified. In Seattle's early 90s grunge wave, she stood out. Torn jeans, riot eyes, voice like a gut punch. By 1993, her band was gaining real traction. Labels were calling, fans were listening. Mia was still splitting rent with her bandmates and bartending on the side, but the stage was always hers. Then, one night, she vanished. July 7th. She left the bar after a night with friends, took the walk she'd taken 100 times before, Her body was found hours later, strangled, beaten, left in the street. The city stopped. For a decade, there were no leads, no justice, just silence. Until DNA led to a name, Jesus Mesquia, a stranger, a drifter, convicted, gone. Mia was 27. What she left behind wasn't just grief, it was movement. The self-defense collective Home Alive formed in her memory, driven by friends and community to honor her spirit. Seattle still sings Mia Zapata. You just have to listen close. Euronymous didn't just play black metal, he lived inside its myth. He founded mayhem as a teenager, created a sound colder than winter, uglier than pain. Oslo's Helvet shop was his altar. Death-like silence, his gospel. Euronymous sold more than records. He sold belief. In darkness, in misanthropy, in fear. He said a lot of things. That murder was art, that churches should burn, that weakness deserved extinction. Whether he meant it or not didn't matter. People listened. In 1991, Mayhem's singer Dead killed himself. Euronymous photographed the body. Rumors swirled that he made necklaces from skull fragments. True or not, it became part of the legend. So did his death.
Euronymous tells me that he has taken photos of his dead body. I got very upset by this, and I told him, I'm gonna beat you up, I'm gonna kill you.
August 10th, 1993. Varg Vikernes, once his protege, stabbed him over 20 times. Head, neck, back. Over money, over power, over control of a scene they both believed they owned, over personal grudges and growing paranoia. He was 25. Black metal changed that night. The mask cracked, the myth bled. Some still hail him as a visionary, others a manipulator. But in death, Euronymous became exactly what he built, a symbol carved in blood and noise. They called him the Golden Boy of the Golden Triangle. Bobby Ramirez played drums like he was born behind the kit. Texas rock, deep soul, dirty funk, he felt it all. By his early 20s, he wasn't just keeping time, he was shaping it. Local gigs turned into national ones. He toured with Edgar Winter's White Trash, played on roadwork. You can still hear him on Save the Planet, all fire and finesse. But Bobby never got to see what came next. July 1972. A club in Chicago. Something started in the bathroom. Nobody remembers the details. Outside, a group of men jumped him. His bandmate Jerry Lacroix tried to help, ended up in the hospital. Bobby didn't make it. He was 23. The killers were never found. No justice, no headlines, just silence, and a hole in the band no one could fill. Bobby Ramirez left behind grooves that still move drummers today. He was supposed to be a legend. Instead, he became a ghost of what might have been. Bobby Fuller wanted to be Buddy Holly with a little more swagger. By 23, he had his own studio, a hit on the radio, a band in movies. I Fought the Law was climbing the charts, and he looked the part. Suit, tie, perfect hair, guitar in hand. He wasn't chasing the British invasion, he was taking the rock back. July 18th, 1966. He didn't show up to the studio. They found him in his car outside his Hollywood apartment. Doors locked, windows up, drenched in gasoline, a can in the front seat. The heat had already set in. Police called it an accident, or suicide, or something. Theories flew. Jealous rivals, bad deals, drugs, the mob. Friends didn't buy it. Neither did his family. Bruises, a broken finger, no answers. He was 23. Bobby Fuller had built his future from a garage in El Paso. It ended on a curb in LA. Maybe the system killed him. Maybe the city did. But his voice still plays, defiant, clean, eternal. The law never fought back. and Bobby disappeared into legend. Dimebag Darrell made guitars scream and somehow made you smile while he did it. He co-founded Pantera with his brother Vinny in Texas garages, started glam, ended groove. By the time Cowboys from Hell dropped, everything had changed. Dime's tone was molten, solos sharp like broken glass, vulgar display far beyond driven. He didn't just play riffs, he carved them into metal history, but he never lost the kid in a guitar store energy. Pink beard, shot of whiskey, always time for fans.
It was pretty mainstream heavy metal for me, you know, like Iron Maiden, Van Halen, Black Sabbath, of course, you know.
December 8th, 2004, Columbus, Ohio. He was on stage with Damage Plan when a man pushed through the crowd and fired. No warning, no second chance. Dime was hit first. 3 others died trying to help. A cop stopped it with 1 shot, but the stage was already quiet. He was 38th. Fans never recovered. You don't just lose a guitarist like that. You lose a friend, a brother, a force. Dime's riffs still live, loud, unapologetic, just like he did. Play it loud. He would have wanted it that way. Rhett Forrester had the voice, the look, the attitude. He wasn't subtle, tall, blonde, loud. When he joined Riot in '81, everything clicked. Radio gave them a shot, so did the big stages. Restless breed and born in America gave metal fans a new kind of frontman. Part soul, part swagger. No one mistook him for background noise. Then came the splits, solo projects, Europe, a Stones cover, his take on Out of Time. Even the score got buried, then found again. A cult record, his fans never really left. Rhett didn't either, always chasing the next song, the next stage. January 1994, Atlanta. He was approached at a stoplight. Carjacking. He refused. He was shot and killed. 1 block from downtown. He was 37, no headlines, no chart surge. But if you knew that voice, you remembered. He had grit, style, fire, the kind of frontman people still compare others to. Rhett Forrester never faded. He just burned out off stage. Felix Pappalardi didn't chase the spotlight. He shaped the sound behind it. Classically trained, Bronx-born, and fiercely creative, he rose through New York's folk scene as an arranger before producing Disraeli gears for Cream. He wasn't just behind the board, he helped shape the sound of an era. Strange Brew bore his name as co-writer. So did Wheels of Fire. In 1969, he stepped on stage. Mountain was born. His bass playing and soft vocals added contrast to the band's thunder. Mississippi Queen became a hard rock anthem.
Mississippi Queen, call me everything.
Felix, always the architect, kept building songs, records, legacies. By the late 70s, the volume had taken its toll. Partial deafness, less touring, more studio work. A final solo record, collaborations in Japan. But his life, like his music, remained full of contrast, sensitivity, and storm. April 17th, 1983, Manhattan. Felix was shot and killed by his wife, Gail, in their apartment. She said it was an accident, a lesson on gun safety gone wrong. She was convicted of criminally negligent homicide. He was 43. Felix Pappalardi helped define rock without ever needing to dominate it. And though his ending was senseless, his sound still echoes, clear and precise. John John Lennon started with a guitar and a grudge and gave the world a different way to dream. He grew up with loss. His father vanished. His mother was taken too soon. He found escape in music, in drawing, in rebellion. The Beatles gave him a stage. He gave them a voice. With McCartney, he wrote the soundtrack to a generation. But Lennon's songs were different, sharper, stranger, sadder. Nowhere Man, In My Life, Across the Universe. When the Beatles ended, his honesty only deepened. Imagine didn't promise peace, it demanded it. He sang for the outcasts, the dreamers, the ones who wanted something more.
John Lennon was brought to the emergency room at the Roosevelt site, St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital, this evening, shortly before 11 p.m. He was dead on arrival.
December 8th, 1980, New York City. He was walking into his apartment when a man he'd signed an autograph for hours earlier pulled a gun. 4 shots. Lennon collapsed in front of the Dakota. The world stopped when he was just 40. Mourning turned to music, to murals, to memory. Lennon didn't get to grow old, but he died exactly as he lived, mid-statement. The stage lights burned for them like haloed flames, illuminating gods of distortion and feedback who rewrote rock history with every snarling performance. They commanded devotion from millions, yet couldn't command safety from the dangers their fame attracted. Behind the wall of amplifiers and whiskey-soaked rider demands, some were being stalked by nightmares. Obsessive superfans turned predators, business partners with knives behind their backs, lovers whose embraces became death grips. The very intensity that made their music immortal made them targets. May your music outlive the darkness. Though your time was cut brutally short, your songs still scream the truth in every dive bar and stadium. Thank you for watching.